New developments tonight in the criminal cases that are increasingly complicating former President Donald Trump's 2024 campaign schedule. A judge set the trial date in the federal 2020 election conspiracy case for March 4th, 2024, one day before Super Tuesday. The former president's attorneys and prosecutors both didn't get what they asked for, but special counsel Jack Smith got close to what he sought, a trial date for January 2024. The defense had been pushing for trial in April 2026. For more on this, two heavy hitters, the All-Stars, Bob Costa and Nancy Cordes, both join us in studio today. Bob is CBS News' chief election and campaign correspondent. Nancy is CBS News' chief White House correspondent. Bob, it's early to unpack the political implications of a Election Day Eve criminal trial. What do you make of a trial one day before all those states go to vote and choose a nominee?
Scott, it's good to be with you. It's going to be a turbulent moment next year if this holds, and it actually is the beginning of the trial on the January 6th investigation by the special counsel. For former President Trump, it presents enormous challenges. But based on my conversations today with rival campaigns, it also could present a real opportunity for him to rally his own supporters around his own grievances about this investigation and other ongoing investigations.
Nancy, let me throw the same question at you. Because we're in an unprecedented moment, let's take a bigger perspective here. How do you sit in a courtroom and campaign simultaneously?
Right. I mean, let's just look at the logistics. Set the politics aside. How do you schedule rallies? How do you book venues months or weeks in advance when you don't know when you're going to have to be sitting in a courtroom or for how long you'll have to be sitting in that courtroom? Yes, his lawyers will, make motions. They threatened to do that today, to load the judge up with as many motions as possible. So it's unclear whether these trials will actually start when the judges say they will. It could get pushed back. But all of it creates an incredible atmosphere of uncertainty for the former president who wants to be a future president, but really can't nail down his plans very far in advance.
What do we get out of Georgia as this day was wrapping up, Bob? Mark Meadows, in a particularly provocative moments on the stand, answering questions from a prosecutor this early in the case. What do we know so far about it, and what implications does it have moving forward?
We see the former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, trying to move this case from Fulton County, Georgia, to federal court. And his lawyers have decided, his team's led by George Terwilliger, a veteran defense attorney here in Washington, that it's worth putting Meadows on the stand to answer questions about this case in the hope that the judge will be convinced to move the court to federal court, to have this setting be in federal court. For Meadows, he's making a case today in all of his answers that his work with former President Trump in the final days of the Trump administration were based around his role as chief of staff in a federal capacity. Thus, anything that's scrutinizing those actions and that conduct should be held in federal court. But as we've seen in our own reporting, there's an overlap between what happened on the federal level and what happened on the state level in late 2020 and early 2021.
And President Trump's lawyers are watching that hearing very closely because what they're hoping is that if Meadows is successful at getting his case transferred to federal court, then perhaps President Trump could do the same thing. And the end goal is, hey, maybe we get a friendly judge, maybe even a judge that former President Trump appointed to the bench. And if they can do that, then perhaps a federal judge could dismiss the case altogether. That is the hope.
At the courthouse in Washington today, you could tell the Trump attorneys were deliberately pugnacious and aggressive in their arguments, punching back at everything the judge seemed to say, potentially indicative of where that trial's going to go and how the former president would conduct himself at trial in D.C., which begs the bigger question, what type of opening does that give to his challengers, those who are running against him? Let me play some of what you said or asked and Mike Pence said yesterday on Face the Nation. Take a listen.
You were one of 6 candidates on the stage who said that you would support Mr. Trump even if he is convicted of a felony. Why do you feel that way, especially since you also said on the stage that you felt that he asked you to put him before the Constitution? Why should someone like that be president?
Well, I signed a pledge to be on that stage to say that I'd support the Republican nominee. I remain confident, more confident after Wednesday night, that the Republican nominee will not be the former president.
I'm going to ask you both this. Nancy, you first. Are you sensing any shift from those other contenders as these court dates stack up and these moments occur in court?
You know, I thought it was interesting that basically what he was saying, if you read between the lines, was that, well, I'm supporting former President Trump because I have to, because I signed this oath, because otherwise I couldn't get on the debate stage in the first place to make the case for my candidacy. I mean, that is sort of like the lowest level support possible that you can express for someone you spent 4 years with in the trenches. So there's clearly no love lost there. I think he has to come out after the debate. Chris Christie has to come out. All of these candidates have to come out and say that they feel some kind of momentum shift where perhaps they could gain ground on former President Trump. We have not seen that reflected on the polls, but you know, they need to give their donors and their supporters some kind of rationale to keep giving them money and to keep propelling their candidacies forward when in reality they are in the single digits and former President Trump continues to suck up all the oxygen in the race.
Same to you, Bob. You sensing any potential for some of these tectonic plates to move?
Sure. It's August of 2023. A lot can change. I remember being with then Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota in August of 2011 in Ames, Iowa. She had won what was then called the Ames straw poll, and I was on the bus with her and her husband Marcus and their son Lucas as they were celebrating this amazing moment of winning the Iowa Ames straw poll in August of 2011. Well, turns out she didn't win the Iowa caucuses. She wasn't even in the race for much longer. So what happens now can seem like it's defining, but all of these candidates know, to Nancy's great point, if they can just get traction with donors, keep traction with supporters, maybe Trump implodes or maybe they catch fire. Someone like Vivek Ramaswamy is looking at his debate performance. He's aligned with the Trump base and saying to himself, based on my reporting and his advisors, we have a shot here if we can keep capitalizing on the moments we do have, which are these debates. There will be one in late September in Los Angeles, likely one potentially in Alabama in October.
In the meantime, Kevin McCarthy keeps talking about impeachment inquiries, and his members are eager for an impeachment inquiry into President Biden and key members of the administration. What's the White House been saying about these ongoing talks about impeachment inquiries?
Today, they called it a baseless political stunt, which is not surprising. That's what you'd expect the White House to say. But the question they keep asking is impeachment inquiry for what? What evidence do you have that President Biden has done something wrong? And that is really the rub here, is that you have a lot of accusations among House Republicans, but no evidence yet that, for example, President Biden benefited financially from his son's business dealings, or that he took some kind of policy action in exchange for the money that his son was getting in his business dealings abroad. What Kevin McCarthy said this weekend was, well, if we have an impeachment inquiry, if we go to the next step, that will give us all these new legal tools. We'll be able to get evidence that we can't get now. That's not typically how it works. Typically, you move to start an impeachment inquiry because you have some significant evidence of wrongdoing. But keep in mind, McCarthy has a very restless conference, and he's facing a very difficult battle coming up in just a couple of weeks over government funding. He is pushing to continue government funding just for the short term, and he knows that there are conservatives who are not going to go along with that, who don't like it. And so this can be viewed, I think, as him kind of throwing a bone to them, saying, look, you know, I know you want an impeachment inquiry. I might be on board for that, but I'm going to need you to be on board to keep the lights on, because no one wants to see a government shutdown.
Yeah, just 4 weeks away from that deadline, because as always, summer just disappears so quickly. Nancy Cordes, Bob Costa, thank you both.